are you? This is Sandra Hart with Life Over 60. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you'd like to spend more time with me, please subscribe. I really would appreciate having you join me on this journey that we are all taking. Today I'm going to talk about relationships. Yes, even though we are over 60, some of us are over 50, relationships are really important, aren't they? So stay with me, and we're going to be talking about Venus and Mars today.
It sounds like a love song from the birds in the sky. Seems I'm falling like a fresh summer rain.
Way back in 1992, John Gray wrote a book called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And I can remember when that book came out because my brother, said that his wife gave him this book to read. And he said it opened up his eyes into how different men and women are, especially in relationships. So I bought the book and I read it myself. And at the time, I had been married to Arthur for about 7 years. He was a lifelong bachelor, and of course I was an independent widow with 3 children. So our relationship personalities probably had already been developed by the time we got married. And I found this book extremely, extremely interesting. So now I'm going to read to you just a little bit about what they say about men, and then what they say about women, and then we're going to get into it. Men, according to astrology, the planet Mars indicates the qualities such as stubbornness, hardship, hard work, adventure, pride, risk-taking, gamblers, free will, dominance, and Dionism. Since men are said to be showing these qualities, that makes it say that men are from Mars. Now, women, according to astrology, the planet Venus symbolizes love, sensuality, affection, sacrifice and compromise, homeliness, food, music, art, festivities, color, and variety. And since women are said to be possessing these qualities in them, that makes John say that women are from Venus. Well, despite this fun and catchy title of his book, it really is true, isn't it? When you think about how you think, and maybe about how your partner or your husband thinks, we are entirely different, aren't we? We have different ways of communicating with each other. And that basically comes down to it. That really is the core premise of how different we are, and how we have to learn to communicate and understand the way a man communicates with us, our partner, our husband, and perhaps the way that he understands how we communicate with him. It's entirely different, isn't it? And that really is true. And actually, one of the biggest takeaways from this book and this relationship conversation is not actually about communicating, although that is extremely important. It's about showing. It's about showing how we feel about certain things. For instance, with Arthur, I usually just, say something, and I'm thinking that he's going to catch on to what I'm saying. For instance, we were walking in South Beach this winter, and a brand new gelato place opened near us, and we were walking the dogs in the evening, and I thought to myself, wow, it would really be nice before we go home to stop and have a nice gelato, wouldn't it? So we're walking along, and I said to Arthur, oh, look up ahead. That's that new gelato place. Doesn't it look interesting? And he said, yes, it does. But let's take the left-hand turn, and I want to go this way toward the beach. So, he didn't hear what I said, or he heard what I said, but he didn't understand because actually I was not communicating the way he would expect me to. I was suggesting that we stop there, or hoping he would say, "Oh yes, that's really nice, let's stop and have a gelato on our way home." But it didn't happen because I didn't ask him. I just assumed by my suggesting that he was going to get it. But he's from Mars, and he didn't have a clue at what I was suggesting. Instead of my being open and honest and saying, "Arthur, I really would like to stop at that gelato place before we go back home. I think it would be nice to sit out in front and just relax and have a nice gelato." If I had said that, he probably would have said, "Oh yes, that's a great idea." But I didn't say it. I didn't communicate to him exactly what my feelings were. And that's just a simple example of how men and women communicate differently. We women don't actually always say right up front what they want. They just are thinking their husbands are going to get it. But they don't. They really don't. According to men from Mars, men will give and give until they are pleased with the end result. This can be with money, emotions, work, or physical objects, that they have had to deal with. However, with women, in the example that I just gave you, will typically hope that our gesture will give the men in our lives a clue as to what we mean. But honestly, we communicate differently, so we are on two different wavelengths completely. And it's up to us to kind of understand, and it's up to him too. I mean, both of us have to understand each way we communicate, isn't it? So basically, this is where the disconnect happens. We both think differently. Both the male and the female, my husband and I, think that we are showing love exactly the way that we feel it should be shown. But if the other one has a different idea of how love is expressed, then they don't feel that they're being loved at all. Because I think about love perhaps in a different way than Arthur feels about love. So this is what happens in relationship. The disconnect by the different ways that we show our love, and that we think about how our love should be shown. And unless we communicate that difference and can understand how each of us feel, then it just doesn't work, does it? Arthur is not with me on this first part of my trip. He's back in New York taking care of business and doing what he has to do. But I call him twice a day to see if he's okay and if everything is just fine. And, after I started thinking about Venus and Mars, and I reread this book, my son had it in his library, so I took a chance to pick it out and reread it again. I realized maybe that through all these years I have just taken for granted that Arthur knows how I feel about him, because of, in my mind, the things that I do for him and that I share with him, I feel is showing my love. But the other day on a phone call, I thought, maybe he doesn't know. Maybe the way his brain works and my brain works in relationship to love is so entirely different that I said to him on the phone, "Arthur, I really appreciate you. I really respect the fact that you came from the Bronx. You worked very hard to build a life and to be successful and make something of yourself." I said, "I really respect that you are a self-made person, that you have been able to achieve so much and to provide a wonderful lifestyle for us, even though maybe that you didn't go to college, even though you sometimes feel that you didn't have the opportunities that other people had to build a career. Well, I really respect you that you have been a successful person in your life and you did it all on your own. And I really respect you for that. I respect it more than if maybe you had gone to Oxford and gotten a degree, because I know how hard you worked to be at the comfortable place you are in your life now. And you know, he almost cried. He said, gee, I never knew you always felt that way. I always felt that I kind of looked up to you because of all of your accomplishments and everything that you have done. And that was really an eye-opener for me, because I hadn't a clue that he felt that way. And I hadn't a clue that he didn't realize how much I respected him. But that's actually where the disconnect came in our relationship, is that I just assumed that he knew how much I looked up to him and how grateful I was to him for all of his support and boosting me up all the time like a PR person. But I didn't realize that actually in his mind he felt inferior. And that really hurt me in a way, that I had not acknowledged that earlier in his life, because I just thought he took it for granted. And he just knew how I felt about his self-achievements in his life. So in the end, I guess emotions really make a difference in how we communicate in our lives. And it's being able to understand one another. And actually, it's being able to keep the communication lines open and understanding maybe what we as women take for granted and what men take for granted are entirely two different things. So we do have to express ourselves as women. And I know now that I have to express myself better, instead of hinting and thinking that Arthur is just going to get it. I have to say exactly what I want and say exactly how I feel. And Arthur should be more attuned to how I express myself as well. I think that women and men are from different planets entirely, and it is up to each of us to understand that difference in order to make the relationship and the long-term relationships really work well. I have rediscovered through this book that men really like to be praised. They like to feel like what they're doing for you is really important and special, and that they have accomplished something in their lives that you are proud of. And we as women need to hear by words that I love you, I appreciate you. We need to have that hug. We need to have that intimacy, because those are the things that really make us feel loved. So what do you think about this? I mean, have you been able in your relationship with your husband or boyfriend or partner, Sophie is at it again. Sophie, you want to come up? We, with our husbands, may be speaking different languages, but it's up to us, I think, to take the time to step into the other person's shoes and to look at the situation from their point of view. So in the end, it's all about communication. It's about asking questions. It's about putting yourself in your partner's shoes. And it's about opening up and really being honest about what you want. Thank you so much for coming and sharing this time with me today. Thank you, Sophie, for being such a good poochie. I love you. And be sure to be kind to yourself today. Do something nice for someone. And don't forget to share the love. And I want to know what you think about Venus and Mars, and whether or not it really is, in your opinion, something that we should think about. Take care, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day today. And I will see you in my next video.